as well in Florida. We're now joined by NFL Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle columnist John McClain, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. John, what are your thoughts? They did, I guess they approved the overtime rule, playoff games only. Is that going to solve most of the outrage that we saw with Buffalo, Kansas City?
I think it should, and people are wondering why didn't they do it in regular season. Well, the last thing the networks want is to have, say, Sam Darnold and Drew Lock going at it and delaying the network programming on Sunday night for CBS and Fox, because NBC Sunday Night Football comes on in a Sunday Night America, and that's the highest rated show on television in the fall. So they want to get the 60 Minutes and NCIS LA and NCIS Hawaii and what else they have on CBS and Fox. So I can understand it. Now, only thing I would like them to tweak might be for the next year, say December, when it's coming down to crunch time and every game means so much. Maybe you could have it in for the last 3 games or 5 games, something like that. But this is a step in the right direction, long overdue.
John, what do you think the end game is for some of the things going? I mean, Jerry Jones has some off-the-field stuff going on right now that I'm sure he'll get set out of court, but, I mean, it seems to be worse for Dan Snyder. What's the NFL's end game with Dan Snyder right now?
They have an investigation, a continuing investigation. If they don't force Snyder to sell Washington, no owner's got to worry about that. I mean, think of the embarrassment he's brought to the NFL. He's let one of the best, most storied, successful franchise with a long waiting list for tickets become one in which the stadium on game days is like a mausoleum, and it's almost every month some new charge comes out about sexual misconduct. If they don't force him to sell, I don't think they're going to force anybody to sell, even Stephen Ross. And they announced that the same investigator doing both, and she and her staff will have their hands full. And Jerry Jones, of course, has got his own hands full. That latest story in ESPN by their top investigative guy, Don Van Natta, came out yesterday. It was hard for me to tell, the players without the program, so to speak. Yeah. There were so many names that he disclosed, and I was really surprised because his original story about the cheerleader escapade, the payola, and Rich Dalrymple, the person that tipped him off, said was a former executive. Well, now he names that guy, and they're trying to bring in Charlotte Jones. Her divorce, the guy she was married to, is being a perpetrator behind all this. So at some point, you would think the league would have an investigation into that. But the difference is Jerry Jones is liked and respected, and he makes a lot of owners a lot of money. Dan Snyder doesn't make them squat. The only thing he makes them is embarrassed to be associated with him.
John, I'm glad I'm not the only one that was somewhat confused by that article, just because, like you said, there were a lot of names, and this person said this, and it was Anderson and Davis and Jones and all that. But yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of hard to follow. But I know you had an article that came out on Davis Mills and the Texans keeping their draft options open. What are your thoughts on Davis Mills, John?
Well, first of all, Davis Mills is their starting quarterback, and he will be the starting quarterback going into next season. And I think they'll add a quarterback either as an undrafted free agent or at the bottom of the draft. They have 3 6-round picks and a 7th. They're not going to be drafting a quarterback in a premium round because they're committed to Mills. Now, publicly, they won't be that strong as I just am, because I'll guarantee you, when they have 3rd overall pick or even the 13th overall pick, they want teams to worry that they might draft one of those quarterbacks and say, hey, how about we give you a couple of picks to swap places? I'll guarantee you, and I've told people here, that's what Nick Caserio is trying to do by not coming out and saying, hey, Davis Mills is our guy, but the truth is he is their guy and should be their guy.
John, how much now is all of Deshaun Watson no longer anything to do with the Texans, and it's all Cleveland? It's in their hands, and you don't have, and the Texans don't have to deal with that very much, or is that true?
Well, I've done the last, 2 days, I've done 11 talk shows and podcasts, and every one of them was about Watson.
Okay.
And I've done 5 in Cleveland, including NPR, and it's still all about Watson. Now, eventually here, I'm guessing as long as he has those 22 civil suits for sexual assault, misconduct, and harassment, it'll be news here. Somebody leaked one of his depositions that's on the internet, and which I don't think is fair to him. But I hope that his accusers get what they're looking for, either a court case and a verdict or a settlement. Because as I've told people, 14 and a half months, as someone who's read all those lawsuits 3 times, there's some despicable allegations in there. And Watson's got a whole lot of proving to do to people. And first thing he should worry about is the people who've accused him. And that's not going to go away anytime soon. But if I'm the Browns, I'm giving a guy $230 million guaranteed. I said, look, I'll do this. I'm going to take all kind of heat, not only from other NFL owners for setting this kind of precedent, but from our fans and our media, and we'll do it. But you got to guarantee us you're going to get this taken care of before training camp. We don't want this to be a distraction every day of the season, and it's going to cost him a lot of money.
Yeah, John, I watched the press conference last week, and yeah, they didn't answer a lot of questions well. I know that they can't. The one thing that will keep coming up in these things for Deshaun Watson is, why do you have to go to social media to get 22 different massage therapists? It's just weird.
Well, it wasn't just 22. His attorney produced 18 that said he was a perfect gentleman. That's 40. And then 2 talked to Sports Illustrated. That's 42. And we'd be stupid to think there were nobody else out there that they just haven't come forward because they didn't want their name dragged through the mud. And I don't care what he says, well, it's over a 5-year period. That's still way too many the way he went about it. He should have said when he has regrets, I made mistakes. Yes, I have regrets about my actions. I have regrets. There's a stain on my name. My image has been tarnished. I will work as hard as I can to try to get back my reputation as much as I can. Those are the regrets that I have. But he said I don't have any regrets. He looked terrible. Then when he said he went to Cleveland, it didn't have anything to do with the contract. People are like rolling their eyes. Of course, $230 million guaranteed had everything to do with it.
John, I think this happened the day after we talked to you. If not, we can just move on to the next question. But what were your thoughts on Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins?
I think that Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of players look great. And Tyreek Hill is fast. He likes to catch deep routes. Tua Tagovailoa doesn't throw deep routes very much. Now, Hill likes to run crossing routes, slant routes, where he can take a quick pass, turn the corner, and go, and that's what he'll have to do because Tagovailoa throws a lot of slant routes. But I don't think all of a sudden he's going to go down there and help them win the division. Buffalo will win the division. What they've got to do is try to win a wild card berth, and based on all the moves they've made in personnel and the money they've spent, if they don't make the playoffs, maybe they're going to fire McDaniels and hire a guy like, Sean Payton.
Hey, John, it's pro day tomorrow at Baylor. Obviously, they've had some years where it was a must-be at, and it depends on what teams are looking at, but there's a pro day tomorrow. Have you been able to go to any of those in the last couple of years?
I went to Baylor 2 or 3 years in a row, and then I was told by somebody I couldn't come, so I haven't been back. And I'll say this one, based on their performance at the Combine, Baylor's going to have a lot of guys drafted, and Jalen Petrie is going to run. And he didn't run at the Combine. He looked great. Right now, he's a second-round pick. It's a deep draft for safeties, but if he runs well, that'll just solidify him as an early second-round pick and help him make more money. But Baylor's going to have – I can't remember the last time Baylor has as many guys as they're going to have drafted next month.
Yeah, there seem to be quality players, and some of them, very old as far as college years because they stayed an extra year or whatever from the Matt Rule years. And even Petrie was recruited by Art Browse and his staff all the way through Rule, and then, of course, Aranda.
2016, Corey Coleman, X Howard, Billings, Drango, Landis, Rico Gathers. That was six guys there. But yeah, it's all 4, 5, 3. It's been a while since this number of guys for sure.
I wonder if Grant Taft had a team that may have had, that 5 or 6 levels drafted back when the draft was longer.
The 83 team had Cedric Mack, Randy Grimes, Charles Benson, Bo Metcalf, Mark Kirchner, Jeff Gandy, David Mangum.
7.
So there's 7 right there in 83.
How many rounds was the draft then?
Well, there's at least a 12th round pick because that's when David Mangum went. So, yeah.
So, that's a little different. When I first started, it was 16 rounds. When I was a fan before that, they had it during the season, and they would have a draft at the league office. Most of them were drafted as 24 rounds out of Street and Smith's football magazine. And when the draft was over, then they'd pile in a luxury bus and go to Yankee Stadium and watch the Giants play.
Cool.
John, have you seen Ode to Joy, the Baylor men's basketball documentary?
Not yet. That's one of those things I'm going to sit down and watch all of them at once. Once I get some things taken care of here, and get a little time to do it. I like to watch things all at once. I don't like watching and waiting a week, and that's what I like about streaming.
Well, I brought that up because I sent you the text about Tweety Carter's now a part of the Scott Drew staff, and of course he'll join us tomorrow. We had other coaches today. I think that I thought Coach Drew, considering Jerome Tang as good a guy as he is, a great coach, and everyone loved him. Coach Drew, his entire staff remained one, despite the loss of Jerome Tang to Kansas State. That doesn't happen very often.
Well, I thought that Tang was going to get a head coaching job before this. I'm happy for him. Scott Drew has been able to hang on to coaches better than most teams who have such a successful program, and that's great for the program, but everybody wishes Tang the very best except twice a year.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em.
That's John McClain, Hall of Fame NFL writer, Houston Chronicle, every Tuesday with us. And
is this Jalen Hurd? Is this Jalen Hurd in the yellow?
I thought it's Petrie.
No, in the yellow.
In the yellow.
Yeah, in the yellow.
I know what Jalen Petrie looks like.
Yeah.
Is it?
Maybe. Yeah, okay.
Looks like Jalen Hurd standing behind Jalen Petrie.
Is that Brian Etheridge's picture?
I guess whoever I pulled up, but it's JT Woods and Jalen Petrie, and then looks like Jalen Hurd behind
in the background,
him.
former Baylor receiver. Yeah,
tomorrow's pro day.
Yeah, he
doesn't have a team,
might work
so
out.
That's why I'm asking. I wonder if that is him, and it looks an awful lot like him. Then I'm curious to see if maybe he's participating tomorrow in the pro day activities.
No, that's Jerry Hill.
Yeah.
John Warner.
Yeah. We know who aren't.
Yeah, we know who the two non-football players are.
One of them is Cooper Kupp, and the other one is Cole Beasley.